Welcome to My Money Mindset podcast, where we explore how a healthy mindset is the foundation for financial success. Each week, we delve into mindset hacks and practical strategies to help you enhance your income, help you make more appropriate investments for yourself, and to improve your overall financial well-being. Join us on this journey to transform your financial future by transforming your mindset. Please note that the information provided on this podcast is for general information purposes only and does not constitute as personal, financial or health advice. It has been prepared without considering your individual objectives, financial situation or life needs. Before making any financial or health decisions, you should consult with a qualified professional or financial advisor to ensure the information aligns with your specific circumstances. So let's begin and enjoy this journey as each episode teaches us on how to improve our overall mindset that it overall improves our financial success. Hey everyone, in this episode, it's going to be a long episode, or it's going to be quite an involved episode, simply because it touches on anxiety. Anxiety being one of the main factors that we see in today's society that is affecting everyone. Anxiety affects everyone. Now, there are good and there are bad, or there are indifferent anxieties. So an anxiety of the night before Christmas for a young child, or the anxiety of starting a new job. It's neither good or bad, but it just is an anxiety. The anxiety of certain trauma that's been in your life. There's anxieties about anything. Now, most of the time, anxiety is derived simply because of thoughts. Now, it's quite evident to say that a thought can often trigger off many different emotions. So when it comes to money, saving, investments and stuff like that, the anxieties that revolve around these sort of aspects. So I'm really thinking that time is running out as a young person. I get an investment. I don't know what investment. The less that I know about investments, or the less I know about money, the more anxiety that it may create. So thus, us as social beings always turn up and say, well, the more that I learn or find out, thus why am I listening to podcasts or reading books or watching videos and learning and gathering all this information is a bit of a two-blade sword, as they say. It's a double-edged sword. The first blade cuts in your favor, so it literally teaches you more about money, savings, what to do, how to approach it, all different aspects of life. And you learn and you get on this learning curve that hopefully leads you somewhere closer in somewhat educated decision to be made upon investing or whatever it might be. Now, the other side of the other edge of the sword is pretty much, okay, so too much information can create anxiety. So not enough builds you to a point to say, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I might just take a guessing game towards my investment. Or too much information leads you into a problem of, well, if I do it one way, these are the ramifications. If I do it another way, these are the problems. And you sometimes don't end up making a decision. So quite often you find many people that go on the approach of just taking a gamble and hoping that they close their eyes and wing it. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, sometimes it is indifferent. And then the people that procrastinate because they feel as though they have this anxiety of, if it doesn't work out, then all this learning for nothing, all this research for nothing. So to eliminate that's quite simple. And so, well, Mark, it's probably not that simple. But in actual fact, when you learn the art of letting go, it becomes simple. So anxiety becomes somewhat not controllable. You let the anxiety go through you. You don't allow it to push you, or you avoid it, or you put it in a dark corner somewhere in your mind. What I mean by letting go means that you somewhat tend to, it's not really the art of saying, oh, I don't really give a crap about something. It's more about, I am letting it go in a sense of letting nature take its course. And I use the analogy of gardening. I love my gardening, of course, or you plant a fruit tree and you wait and you hope and you continue to water, you continue to turn the soil, you continue to feed the plant that becomes a tree, and then eventually it bears fruit. And then that fruit just drops, goes back into the ground. The seeds then go back to grow up other trees and so on and so forth. But that takes time. Now, most of us in this day and age, because of the information that's flying at us every day, are sort of in more of a bit of a hurry than watching trees. And I get that. So letting go means that you've done everything you can in life to enable you to go forward with your investment. And investments should sometimes just plop into your life. And what I mean by plopping in, it's not forced. Anxiety often occurs when things are forced. So they're against what your sort of rhythm in life is. So, and you say, well, Mark, my rhythm is a bit slow. If I keep going like this, I'm never going to get an investment. What can I do? And yes, you're right. Is it okay to sort of stretch the boundaries a bit? Is it okay to sort of start to pressure test yourself in different situations or environments? And is that means that if you're only working 8 hours a day to accumulate money and you maybe stretch it to 8.5, 9 hours a day and accumulate a little bit more, or so on and so forth? Do you build your education in order to provide you with a better career? Is it, all these things? What do I do with my 24 hours? And using the 24-hour clock, as I say, is you've got 24 hours. 8 of those hours you should be sleeping, or they're close about. And we'll break it down. 8 hours into sleeping, as a general rule of thumb. More sleep, oversleep is no good, undersleep is no good. We all know that. So the health of our body is replenished simply when we sleep, and so on and so forth. So dedicate 8 hours to sleeping. There's another 8 hours that what we do is we work. Okay, so that's just the way the whole system's made up. Other people work less than 8 hours. Some people work greater than 8 hours. And then we've got an additional 8 hours that is somewhat living. So all of a sudden, 2/3 of your clock, 24-hour clock, is consumed by sleep and work. And we've got 8 hours left. You say, okay, yep. So let's take 1 hour travel time stuck in the traffic going to work or going back home, dropping the kids off anywhere, wherever. Let's call it even 2 hours. Let's really make it the worst case scenario. 2 hours, and you'll see where I'm going with this. So all of a sudden now, your 8 hours of free time, apart from 8 hours of sleeping and 8 hours of work, your 8 hours of free time, 2 of those hours are consumed by transportation, let's say, just for this conversation. Now we've got 6 hours left, and we'll say, well, okay, we've got to somewhat do the chores around the house, cook, maybe shopping, groceries, that sort of stuff. That's probably an hour, maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, depends. You can all do it in your own sort of clock, if you can imagine. And let's say we're really pressure testing it, and we say, well, okay, 2 hours, so out of your 8 hours of free time, 2 hours of travel, let's call it 3 hours, cleaning, getting meals prepared, breakfast, or getting your lunch ready, dinner, washing the dishes. Let's even call it 4 hours. That's 6 hours in total of just living. We've got 2 hours left over. What do we do with those 2 hours? Oh, we need to relax. And that's exactly right, we do. But in most instances, we're not relaxing. So somewhere in the 2 hours that we've got left over, we need to reinvent the wheel about progressing with ourselves. So in other words, Mark, the rhythm of my life is a little bit slow. I'd like to enhance things. I'd like to pick up my game. I want to get into investments. I want to start accumulating more wealth or more money. There's got to be something wrong. So in those 2 hours that we've got left over on your 24-hour clock, I want you to actually turn up and say within that is start, first of all, analyzing the day in the life of yourself. What am I doing that I believe could be improved? Or what am I doing that maybe needs a lot more improvement, doesn't need improving? I like what I'm doing. I dislike what I'm doing. What are these? And how do they contribute or affect the amount of money that you're able to save or accumulate or earn or so on and so forth? So these 2 hours that we've left over, and we've been quite generous with the rest of the 24-hour clock. So we've got 22 hours consumed by every day, but we've still got 2 hours to invest in ourselves. Number one, invest in yourself. Number one is invest in yourself. I didn't say number one, invest in property, invest in shares, crypto, whatever, businesses, invest in yourself. Because it's only when you're investing in yourself, you're going to start to know yourself, and then you're going to know what investment suits you. It's just a chain of events. It's just the apple before the cart, or so on and so forth, right? So we know that we've got to invest in ourselves as priority, and that investing in myself, if those of you who have been listening to me I've always said health. Number one. Health is number one. So how does this all go back to anxiety? Because it just seems like for the last 5 minutes I've been rambling on about how to invest in yourself, and that to me creates an anxiety. That's a good anxiety. Remember, there are different anxieties, and this is a growth anxiety. This is when you're younger and you're trying to achieve things, or your kids are, at a game, at a sport or a hobby that they're trying to achieve, and they're in a competition, and it's an anxiety, and it's like, wow, this doesn't feel good, but it does feel good, and if I win or lose or whatever, there's an anxiety, and you're pressure testing yourself. So this is a good anxiety. Start to identify and know yourself through different ways of, however, everyone's different and everyone knows themselves differently, and they know what they prefer to do, and so we're all different, right? So, and then we start to improve on that. Now that's the first sort of fundamental steps, but it all goes back to your health. And keeping anxiety in mind, you say, well, okay, Mark, I'm going to start to do that. And you break it down. This doesn't happen overnight, guys. This literally can take weeks, months, years. But at least you start to implement and invest in yourself. Even if it's half an hour every night, meditate, do what makes you feel better and enables you to write it down, envisage, whatever, to improve yourself. Know thyself, right? So now the other side when it comes to anxiety is knowing, well, let's say we've got a trauma in our life. Let's say that this anxiety in our life is somewhat, you can never get rid of it. Right? And a lot of people experience things in their life, unfortunately, which was out of their control or whatever that may have been. And it's really affected them from young. It's affected them throughout their life, or it may have just occurred yesterday, whatever it may be. And we all live these anxieties, these traumas, these memories, good, bad, or ugly. They are literally, they create and somewhat are in our own fabric of life that dictate our behaviors, our thoughts, our feelings towards other people, how we react, how we engage in our life. And this becomes somewhat very difficult, because if you think about, if you had experienced a trauma, and we often, as time goes by, and we've all heard the analogy of time heals all wounds, or sometimes it heals the wounds, but the pain still stays within people's mind. And depending on the degree, so those of you listening that have experienced really bad trauma as opposed to just somewhat small amounts of trauma, are always going to be different and always going to bounce it back and evaluate it and go, well, mine is really bad. Mine is the worst trauma, that sort of thing. And if it is, most of the time, a lot of the time, if you're feeling the pain of that trauma, if you're actually placing yourself or remembering, and it's things bring it back, certain incidences that you do in everyday life, it reminds you of it, whatever. these are the anxieties, the depressions, and everything that are cultivated from these past experiences or memories. And the world's riddled with it. People unfortunately have these, and this is becoming a massive problem that we need to identify because it is affecting those people's lives. And, I've got people that invest in properties that are still experiencing these traumas, done very well with money, and feel as though these investments are somewhat helping them. And yes, it is. But then the flip side of that is that sometimes money isn't always going to be there for you to help you when you're on your own or wherever you're just sitting there or whatever. So there's got to be an art form to getting the balance in life of having enough money, yet also feeling content with thyself in knowing that you've done everything you possibly can. You're always going to have these memories. Unfortunately, we're really good memory and we remember great things, but we also remember bad things. So we need to understand how we're going to deal with this. How are we going to deal with these memories or these traumas? And quite often the natural reaction for all of us is to tuck them away somewhere in a dark corner, cover it over, and not even look or listen or smell it in your mind to really get it away. But unfortunately, sometimes we still know that they're there and we're somewhat fearful of that they rise in certain instances. And this is a massive problem as well because, like I was relating to clients that are really great investors, entrepreneurs, but they still have these anxieties that affect them at night. And then you might find a lot of people that with a lot of money can tend to get bored and avoid these traumas or whatever. And they say, I don't care, that was in the past and blah, blah, blah. But deep down, they may care. And then they turn into other things that somewhat could be detrimental to their health. And health is pinnacle number one. Never let anything be detrimental to your health. Now, if we do tuck these traumas away in our mind and the anxieties are just building up or they're not, or we don't know how to do it, some people know how to get rid of anxieties better than others, and those of you who don't, I would often say tend to acknowledge and understand that these traumas aren't going away. We can't. It's literally physically impossible for the mind to get rid of this memory. The same way it's physically impossible if you're not good at, let's say, long jump or fast running or whatever it may be, or strength. You're naturally not born with speed or strength. It's going to be very hard to, compete with someone that's actually born with it and trains just as much as you, and you get where I'm going with it. So memories are there, good or bad, they're there to stay. Grab them, acknowledge them, know that they're there, say hello to them every day. You may find that, and I often find that this tends to work much better because you're literally saying, well, thanks memory, really bad memory, ghost of the past, trauma of the past, how you going today? I know you're here. It's really nice to see you. It's like a bad neighbor. They're there. They're not moving. You probably can't stand them. You probably create, all sorts of dislikes in your life, but that they're there. And as you do that, you tend to ignore the neighbour time and time again. Not that I've got bad neighbours. I love my neighbours. They're great. Touch wood. If we know that they're always going to be there, well, there's not much we can do about it. Or we can move house. You say, well, move house. Well, we can't move out of our body. So know that they're there. Acknowledge every day, hey, bad memory, hey, trauma, I know you're there. I understand. Come with me. Be my little twin for today. Walk in with me. Experience it. You're going to be a part of me the same way that the good memories are a part of me. I'm going to accept you. I'm going to let go of the fact that you are controlling me, and I'm actually going to start to control you. So that's for the really traumatic experiences. Now, look, if it's something that's really affecting your health, you must go see someone, as in the professionals, right? So you all know that. But these are simply little tricks of life that are going to enable to help, I hope, help most or even anyone with ways of dealing with these types of anxiety. So let's get back onto the train of anxiety as opposed to how it can help and not help with investments. To find out if anxiety can help, so going back to different types of anxiety, good anxiety, it can help. Um, we are all social beings. We are social spirits. We like being around people. And a lot of the time people say, no, I don't like people. I really want to get away from the hustle and bustle and everything like that. And I want to be on my own. And, I don't mind. When I go to do the groceries, people are everywhere. They really give me the irrits and yada, yada, yada. But believe it or not, guys, if you were really content with just being on your own and being away from people, pressure test it. There are so many places these days where you can go and meditate and be alone in a meditation room for over a week or a month. These are some of the meditations that are out there for extremists that are really trying to find themselves and be in a better place in their mind. So let's just assume for the purpose of this episode that in somewhat we accept the fact that we are social beings and there's going to be a connection or an adherence in our life with other people. And when it comes to making money, well, there's no use having money when you're on your own. You say, well, yes, there is, because I can enjoy it on my own and I'll buy this big property and be away from everyone and yada, yada, yada. And then I'm going to do what? I'll be on my own. I'll cultivate my own electricity, yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, that's fine. But most of the time, once again, for the purpose of this episode, we're all probably saying, no, look, yes, we may like the sound of that, or we don't like the sound of it. We love people, we love parties, we like interacting, we love going into work, and that's the other side. So in certain degrees, for the purpose of this episode, once again, we're going to say that we either really, really, really love being around people or, yeah, not bad, not really. And that's the extremes. And then somewhere in the middle, we're like, yeah, I like people, but I also like the time on my own. And I think that's a healthy balance. Just like anything in life, a balance is always beneficial. So why are we social spirits? Or why do we turn around and say sometimes, yeah, let's go out to a restaurant, or let's go out to eat, or let's go have a bit of fun, or whatever it might be, or sports, team sports, whatever. And it sometimes provides us purpose. Purpose is one of the most important things in life as an individual. So for instance, you say, well, no, I don't like being around social beings. So what is your purpose then? I love being around people. Well, what is your purpose then? Well, my purpose, as an example, is to help people with money, help people fix their finances, help people become entrepreneurs, investors to the point that they're really content with their life. And I didn't say rich and all this glamour and glitz, not at all. Far from it. Those that know me will say, yeah, that's exactly right. That it's about being content in life, not overeating. What happens when you overeat? Well, you feel terrible, right? And sometimes if you don't know what to do with too much food and you say, well, I'll store it in the fridge and eat it again. That is, yes, a way of doing it. And some people know how to really do that well. But most of the time, life is just a dance and it's not a fast dance. Life is to be controlled and consumed and enjoyed at a rhythm. It's not like everyone's in a hurry I want to be the next millionaire. You got to enjoy the journey. I often say that the best song or tune that you've ever heard isn't the fastest tune. It's not like 1, 2 beats and then it's over and you go, oh, that was fantastic. Life is exactly like a song. Yeah, it's got to have a rhythm. It's got to have a tune. It's got to be exciting to you. It's got to place your mind into a nice, peaceful environment, right? So you need to mimic your life with a purpose, and whatever it is it to dance or to make the next million in the next couple years or whatever, or to make sure that your family is content and to look after them. That is your purpose. And we all have a purpose, whether we're on our own or socially as a purpose we have got there. So reflect on your purposes. They are very important. And I'll probably have to do a episode on purpose, because I think purpose is one of those things that correlate with anxiety. The less purpose you have, you can tend to sort of say, well, I'm running out of purpose, or not that you consciously, I think it's more of a subconscious thing that your purpose in life is to, well, look after my kids. Hopefully they get a good education, turn them into, perfect human beings, to be respectful and to treat other people the same way they want to be treated, sort of thing. And that's your purpose. And that's just, one side of it. And then as an individual, you may have a purpose to be the best at your work, the best at, if you're a baker, the best baker, that sort of stuff. And these purposes aren't stagnant. So your purpose when you were 8 years old is going to be different to 20 and 40 years old, and they move on with life, right? So don't think that your purpose when you were 8 years old should have been the same as when you were 20, and so on and so forth. So acknowledge that. That subconscious, or that gut feeling, as I always say, is the most important, and it knows you best sometimes than what you know yourself best mentally, right? So follow your gut instinct and understand your purpose. Now, the other thing what I'd like to also talk about is how purpose, it develops an adherence and a guidance in somewhat. So when you're going towards your goals or your purpose in life, or my purpose in life is to help people with finance, I find that it adheres me socially to people. I mean, there's no use me, hopefully those of you who are listening are taking this advice and either turning it off quickly or listening more and saying, I don't mind this, I get along with it. There's a rhythm here that what I'm saying. So there's an adherence somewhere, I hope, that is, I don't have to adhere and acknowledge from the other person that it is happening, but there's an adherence. And there's also a guidance. I'm not going to actually talk about my podcast, or my episodes are more about mindset and money and dealing with life in general and keeping your health and being content and happy. But I'm not actually going to go talk about car mechanics or baking, because either of them I'm no good at. Well, I don't think I am anyway. It's one of those things. So it adheres me and it guides me towards explaining what I think has helped me build my investments and helped me as an entrepreneur, and so on and so forth, right? It's the guidance and the experience that I have achieved in my life. And the purpose has given me that. And that somewhat has created a wisdom. And all of you have a certain amount of wisdom due to your good memories and bad memories. And your wisdom guides you for the next chapter and next purpose in life. Now, as an investor, you say, well, the purpose in life as an investor is to somewhat build as many investment properties that are going to feed my pocket with money on a regular basis and on a healthy basis. In some ways, there's going to be differences, but let's say as a guidance. And it's going to leave me enough time. So rather than me working really hard for every dollar, I'm going to invest what I make, and then hopefully by the end of some certain time length, I'm going to have more time to myself, not to be putting my efforts into making money just because I need to be doing it, but my money's going to be making money for me, and it's going to give me time to do other things in life which are an additional purpose. What am I going to do with my time? Well, first reaction, everyone puts their hands in the air and says, I'm going to go on holiday and never do a damn thing ever again. I'm going to retire, and that is the end of it. Yeah, hopefully. It probably will be the end of it, because there is a lot of statistics saying that those of you without purpose that just literally get up and do the garden or go play golf or do nothing at all, don't have a purpose, just literally live day to day, is a great thing for some people, but we often find that it affects us mentally and we get bored, our health deteriorates because we somewhat are not having this adherence to life, right? Depending on what age, and some of you will say, well, I'm really over it. I'm tired. Well, then you're probably not even going to, if you're thinking that you're already tired, question that, really understand why, but you want to become good with money, start to find that energy and focus on that energy, which is very important. Um, Now, there is a double-sided edge, as it was saying before, double-edged sword to everything that causes anxiety. And if you're saying that adherence and guidance and purpose is the next sort of step for me to avoid anxiety, well, in actual fact, it can create anxiety. You go, Mark, I'm actually, so if I do go left or right, there's anxiety. Yes, there is. But remember, there are good anxieties, as in growth anxieties. Don't overdo it. Don't over, like, let's say going back to the adherence or having a purpose, don't make this purpose so big that you can't, you know, your gut instinct, you can't do it all in one day. You know, this purpose may last you 20 years, may last you one day, it may last you 10 years, but don't overdo it and create anxiety for yourself to say, well, gee whiz, I'm trying every day and I just can't see any gain. So for instance, I'm wanting to buy a house in another 5 years or 2 years time. I want to start to delve into shares or whatever it might be, but I need money to do that. I need a deposit. Everyone keeps telling me I need a deposit. The banks want me to have a deposit, so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden I just think, so, okay, let's break it down, guys. If it's becoming too much of an anxiety that you're day in, day out, you're working and you're going and you're slogging it and you're only saving $50 a week and everything. I've actually done a video, an episode where it explains don't overdo it or start to reinvest in yourself. I mean, the beginning of this episode, I'm talking about those 2 hours that you have to invest in yourself. Go back to that. Anxiety, don't create your anxiety to feel worse. Don't create a purpose to feel worse. Address yourself before you make that purpose, before you make a goal in life. Don't make that goal too big where you believe and go, am I or not am I going to do this? I mean, this is a really risky thing and I'm going to waste the next year of my life trying to achieve something that may not work. I mean, that's taking a bit of a gamble. That's a risk. We don't risk. There's a certain amount of risk in all investments or money making and money saving and money management. But in all, why take that risk when you've actually got the beauty of life, of remember the rhythm in life, to actually do it with contentment. Now, you may not be happy where you are at the moment or with the accumulation of investments or no investments. You may not be happy with that, but you are blessed with the health to then progress micro steps in the direction of where you are going with your money or investments or portfolio or whatever it is that your goals and purposes are. If it's to look after the children, you don't put their 12 years of schooling all into 1 year. It is broken down into years. The same is for yourself and your investments. They are cultivated. The same as in, like I was using the analogy of the fruit tree, it is cultivated. And as they say, I would always recommend, remember to laugh, smile, keep happy. Happy. Today is now. Now is for you. You are blessed with today. Enjoy it and do what you can for yourself, for your goals, right? So the last bit of this episode or what I wanted to talk about was, what type of person are you? So, well, what are you talking about? Well, I'm not talking anything about race or what gender or what anything like that, but there are certain, what I would break it down to, in a broad sense, right? This isn't a micro and an analysis about you as an individual or anything like that, but there are a lot of people out there that got to understand who they are. I mean, this is an episode within itself. I'm going to try cram it, and probably those of you that wanted to sort of for me to go over it more, I might do another episode with more information about it. But I'll start off by saying that, what type of person do you feel as though you are? You know, ask yourself, reflect, self-reflect. Who do you think you are? Yeah, that sounds quite abrupt, but Um, I believe in life, and you meet these type of people in your life that there could be sharers. What I say, they're sharers. You know, people that are always happy to share stuff. They're they've always got a smile on their face. They're happy to either share their misery or share their greatness or share their fun or share their possessions or share their accommodation, share their whatever. And they're sharers, right? Now, this doesn't mean that you're a sharer, you're always a sharer. Remember, life is just moving. It's a rhythm. Some people will share certain amount of things, but they won't share other things. They'll share a lot. They may not share a lot the next day, or so on and so. But there are generally traits of sharing, right? So you may have all these traits all in the one personality. Quite often we do. Uh, there is also the gifted people. So the people that are actually just born into wealth or born into security, you know, they don't really have to do anything for themselves because they've sort of nurtured in a way. They've been gifted a lot of the stuff that they've accumulated. It's been gifted. They sort of haven't really had to go delving deep and things just seem to happen for them and naturally. You say, well, how did that happen for them? Why are they so lucky? That sort of thing. That's that. And like I said, you could be a sharer and you could be a gifted person. So a gifted person often sharing and so on and so forth. And remember, this isn't about pointing fingers and saying you're a sharer or vice versa, a gifted or so on, right? So there are also drivers. So what is a driver? A driver is a person that gets up, and they could be gifted, they could be sharers, but they're driving people. They're driven. They're actually saying, you know what? I've been gifted this, but it's still not going to change. My purpose in life is this, and they're driving people. They get out of bed and they want to achieve their goal. They want to share their goal. You know, it goes back to the sharer. I'm a driver. I'm a sharer. I've been gifted, whatever it might be. Uh, and then there's the people that are sort of somewhat stay in the background, quite reserved. They don't really want to do anything. They're quite lazy, one may argue, but then they're content. So laziness and content, you know, in the English language sounds terrible, but in certain ways, remember guys, it's good to be lazy. What? What's that got to do with achieving my goals? If I'm lazy, that's what I've been doing, and it's achieved nothing. Little bit of everything. Every recipe requires little bits of ingredient, the right amount of ingredient. If you put too much salt in your bread whilst you're trying to make bread, the bread will be too salty. Put enough for it to have enough taste. So on and so forth. Life is the same. And what I mean by the last one is, yeah, they tend to somewhat, in my eyes, it's like when people say the lights are on but no one's home. Like they're alive but they're really not driven. And you're saying, well, how can I be a driver, a driven person? You know, I'm driving, I'm helping the family, I earn the keep for the family, I do this for my friends, I'm driven, I'm all about goals and careers and achievement, but then I'm going to go to sleep. And I guarantee, and I'm a victim of this too, you know, I'm a driver. I know I'm a sharer. I always love sharing. I love sharing. I think sharing is probably the most beautiful thing in life that you could ever do. And is it sharing to other people? Is it sharing to my animals, my pets? Is it sharing to my garden? Share, share, share. Yeah. It's not about gifting and being gifted. If you are gifted and you somewhat feel as though you're not going to share anything, well, you know, let's just see what happens with that. Start to understand that if you're gifted, you're sharing, you're probably not driven or you are driven. These four traits are so important to get in a right sort of a combination because I think every individual in certain ways has these four within them naturally. And let's pressure test that comment. Well, let's take gifted, for instance. Most of us in our life are not gifted. We're born, oh, hang on, that's a gift. Oh, well, everyone's born. Okay. So then we're born and we're sort of going to have to learn everything for ourselves. Okay. So having a healthy mind to learn is a gift. Yeah, but everyone can learn. Okay. So you're still not gifted. Okay. Your parents. Well, let's say the unfortunate is you're growing up alone and you obviously don't have parents, or some people are born in the street and it's so hard and it's very, very hard and it's been very misfortunate. For you to experience that, you've got to be alive. Life is a gift. Now, I never went back and say it was that you have too much gifts. I said there's got to be, we are all gifted. If we are gifted with life, that's the first step. If we're gifted with health, that's the second step. We're gifted with people to look after us. That's obviously third. And you know where I'm going with this. So if you are alive, listening, you have the gift of life, of hearing, sight, whatever it may be. Always take time to understand that there are some people out there that are worse off than you, that aren't gifted in certain aspects, and vice versa. So yes, in certain ways, I believe we are all gifted. Sharers. Most of us will always turn up, especially the sharers, and go, well, I'm a really big sharer. I look after the family. I was doing this. I was doing that. No one would help me. The kids are not putting their clothes away. No one's vacuuming. I'm just doing it. And I share everything that I make in money. If my investments go up, I share it with the kids. I give them everything. I really am a sharer. I give. I provide. And if that's making you angry or upset, start to slow the sharing down a little bit. There's no good oversharing, simply because oversharing means that eventually you're going to get frustrated. So tone it down a little bit, maybe. I've worked for everything and I've shared everything and no one's ever given me anything back. Well, I'd like to, if you do that, please contact me and let's discuss that, because in certain ways, there is the gift, that the fact that you had an opportunity, you were gifted with opportunity. I made that opportunity. But you were still gifted with having that time in the rhythm of life to have that opportunity. Then you've got, well, you know what? I'm a driver. I'm driven. I do what I say and I accomplish it and I'm done. These are real strong, driven people. Sometimes they're brittle and they break, just like diamond. Very, very strong substance, but sometimes they crack. Uh, Drivers are motivated. Drivers are those that actually get things done, or they make 1,000 mistakes, but they keep working at it and actually going on to mistakes. That's another episode that I want to do down the track. That sort of basically, mistakes are the fabric of who you are today. So that's going to be an awesome one. But drivers are people that somewhat can be overdriven, that creates an anxiety. Yeah. So overdriven, overachievement, over want to make investments and make money and money and money and money, sometimes trip up and they create their own anxiety through not actually living. They're too busy driving. Yeah. And then you've got the people that are somewhat want to go to sleep and relax and just sit in the background and do absolutely minimal. And that's okay too. You say, no, I'm never that. Well, you do, because you go to sleep. Oh, I only sleep 2 hours a night. Well, it's still 2 hours out of the 24-hour clock. And if you are only 2 hours sleep, well, sleep is, as what medically proven, most beneficial for your health. So that's a little bit silly. But like I said, all of these can create anxiety. They can also minimize anxiety. It's just the perfection and the balance of playing life through the rhythm of life and making sure if you are a driver, to take time to sit back a little bit, to share your achievements. You've been gifted with opportunity. If you're being gifted, share it. Take time to sit back and just enjoy what you've been gifted, but also have a bit of drive in you. Yep, everyone's going to have different amounts of these in them, but if you know when to pull the levers and press the buttons of these particular 4 points, as in driver, sit on the sideline, be gifted, or a sharer, move them around. As you age and as your purposes in life change, these too will change. But knowing how to change them, and I'm not saying engineer it in a way where you've got to be really logical. I hate logic. I just think I love logic, but I hate it in a way where logic for investments can sometimes provide logic in being human. Being human is emotional, it's beautiful, it's enjoying life. Logic is the structure that enables us to live and exist in a harmonious way that we believe is a comfort for us, right? So I hope this has sort of somewhat helped in relation to anxiety. Anxiety is something that is always going to be in our lives. Do we know how to control it? I suppose I hate the word control, because anything in life somewhat is always out of our control. But going back to, understanding what these anxieties are can often help us live with the anxieties, govern, manage, farm those anxieties. And you say, well, farm, place them into perspective, live with them, confront them. Don't really confront them, live with them. The ghosts of your past, live with them, accept them. Hey, ghost, you're here today again. You're not actually going to trouble me. I know you're there and I can't get rid of you. And God bless, because you're a part of me now anyway, because you've made who I am. I'm actually going to live with you now, and so on and so forth. And these are the little steps that I think in the rhythm of life, and using the analogy of a song or an instrument playing, the rhythm of life, sometimes you're going to get a wrong note. You're going to play the wrong note and it's going to sound a little bit abstract, but nothing wrong with it. That note was played, it was wrong, but then now and the future becomes now, and so on and so forth, right? So it's a revolving door. You can always progress towards achieving a better self, and don't always make the anxiety the purpose. Going back to purpose, don't think that because I've made an episode purely about anxiety that I'm placing it on this shelf and I'm placing this massive sign on it that anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. Guys, understand anxiety exists. Don't tuck it away. But don't make it a purpose. Don't label it as though my purpose in life is to get rid of my anxiety. No, bypass it. Let it go through you. My purpose in life is to do what? Is it to be achieving for what? Find your inner gifts. I always say everyone's been gifted with something naturally. Find what they are. And that's another episode that I did, finding your inner gifts. That is awesome, because that is like a Christmas every day. And what I mean by that, it's like the gifts are under the tree, or, you're gifted something every day, because the more that you delve into your true gifts or your true talents, and the more that you expose them, how beautiful it is. It is so gracious that you then start to acknowledge, and then you share these gifts. It's just brilliant, guys. But don't make anxiety the pinnacle or the purpose. Understand it's there. Bring it along for the ride. Like driving a car, put it in the back seat. No, it's just sitting there. It's got its seatbelt on. It's safe. It's with you. It's just driving around. You park the car. You go into the shops. You come back. It's still there. That sort of thing. Yeah, it's always going to be there. But it hasn't done anything. All it's done is it consumed a little bit of your back seat in your true life, as in car is the analogy of life. You've gotten out and you've gone to the shops. You've forgotten about your anxiety or your trauma. You've been distracted, or you've gone to a party. You get back in your car and, oh, there's your anxiety again. But that's fine. That's all right. You're with me today. That's the approach that I've always said. Let it go through. Know that you're never going to get rid of it, and understand that without that anxiety, sometimes you wouldn't be the person that you are. And the beauty that you discover, quite often you find that higher the trauma, the higher the beauty that you can reveal to yourself and then to the people around you who love you most. I hope that helps, guys.